Come on. Da, 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And we are working on the topic this week. And it's really kind of neat. But we are working on the word vision. Yesterday we gave, because we just picked the word. I didn't even know what the word was going to be that we were going to get yesterday. And so for the first day that we have the word, we kind of just munch on it with what comes to mind in the moment. And I said last night after my live show that I was going to delve into the topic a little bit more today and maybe give a little bit of a story from my own experience, or maybe through one of those great thought leaders that are out in their world, one of the messages that they put out there. But at first, I wanted to think about this word vision, right? Before I say who I stumbled onto, who's going to help us with this lesson today. And I thought when I Googled the word today, vision, what would come up? And the first thing that comes out, of course, is this digital age and these visionary, right, technical companies and stuff. That's what was coming in the feed. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. Well, maybe we'll get a little bit of vision in the way of maybe like somebody like Fatima, right, in the grotto where she actually encountered Mother Mary. Now that's a vision, right? That could be something that I could have stumbled onto and we could have delved into a little bit deeper. I also kind of thought that some of these great visionaries out there, like Elon Musk, right? There are lots and lots of them out there, people that I will never even hear their names spoken, right? We have no idea who are steering the wheel of this world that we live in. We could cross these people on the sidewalks and not even recognize that they're the ones that dictate that there is even a tomorrow coming, right? And that's the truth. We are not privy. We are privy to what we are aware of, but there's lots in this world that we are not aware of. So I was up for anything when I Googled this word of vision. And right, even some of these great visionaries that I thought some of their, right, in innovation that I thought that it would come to the surface. It would be one of the first things. Now, excuse me, I have no idea, but I'm glad it's happening now and not in the next couple of weeks when my trip arrives. But I woke up this morning with my throat closed up. So I do believe I have caught a cold. And if I did, it is the first day of the cold. So if I kind of, right, hack a little bit or stumble over my words, right, that's what it is. Okay, so when I went in today, Googled this word vision, the first thing that came up that caught my attention. It wasn't the first thing that came up, but the first thing on that page, right, that was being offered up to me as some information to munch on, something that might get my curiosity. And it did catch my curiosity because it was the first thing that I looked at. And surprisingly, this message is brought to you by believe it or not, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is who we're getting this insight from. It would never ever have as part of that vision for ourselves and that vision for the world. And we shouldn't forget about that, because I touched on that subject today too, right? But I look out at the world and there's so much that this world needs that we couldn't envision. And hello, Andrew. Hello, Melvin. Oh my goodness. Aw, thank you guys. Thank you. Oh, that's nice of you, Andrew. I much appreciate. Andrew and Melvin are a couple of my moderators on my live show on Sunday nights, and I have been graced that my followers over on my other show pop in here, right? I am the same person, even though what I'm bringing to this show, right, is more true to who I am because I love these guys, right? But I am who I am. And I am grateful that I have people who accept me for who I am. And it's the only reason I even considered bringing this live show to YouTube because I knew that I had the most amazing, accepting, open, very open because they have their own face, their own understandings, and their own sense of movement forward. And they listen to me talk about movement forward. It's just part naturally of my own self, right? It's just not what I bring to the table, it's what I try to bring to my life, right? It's what I believe in, and we all have to have something to believe in. And if you talk about, for me, that vision, right? That vision that we can create an amazing world, right? That we don't have to struggle and we don't have to be the collateral damage, right? Because lots of us are by other people's missteps, misunderstandings, lack of lessons, lack of caring, right? Lack of even when we talk about there's so much stuff going on in this world and we're privy to so little that as much as we're privy to the little bit that we're privy to, there's lots of people out in the world that are not even privy to that. And so we have to have a little bit of compassion for that, right? We do. And that's hard sometimes because that bites sometimes, doesn't it? And sometimes we out of consideration and being non-confrontational will walk away, right? I'm not a big believer in turning the other cheek. I'm not. I don't believe in unkindness. I certainly don't where tit for tat or you do this for me and I'm going to get you or revenge or just downright unkindness. I'm not up for that. But at the same time, unkindness has to be recognized, and I'm not swaying off of this for 1 second, but this understanding that we can't turn the cheek on some things. And one of those things that we cannot turn the cheek on is unkindnesses to others and even unkindnesses to ourselves, because that's where it started for me, right? Is learning to be intolerant of that because I used to be very tolerant of that. There was a point in my life that was, right? That was my vision for myself, which was almost nil, that I was at the beck and call, possibly, or anything that I wanted to do would have to be graced by something outside of myself, even if it was just permission, right? Because we're all different. And that mission statement of mine that it takes all kinds to make the world, I truly, truly believe in that because that's where we're at in this world right now. So if I didn't believe in that, right, my vision for something better couldn't be realized, wouldn't be realized, because that is my vision, that we can all be on a better and more even keel, even balance, right? With equal respect for ourselves and for each other. And again, understanding that it takes all kinds to make the world. I think that's a great vision, right? Because if we got to that point, then maybe we could offer up a little bit of it's not acceptance, but I think tolerance is a good word to start with, isn't it? Because we all have to start with somewheres. And I do remember my parents used to say to me all the time, if you didn't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? And I took that literally to not say anything disagreeable ever, right? That pain was real. That pushback was real. That retribution was real. I didn't even want to. But at the same time, seeing how I was being treated, seeing how other people were being treated, and seeing the long term effects of that mistreatment, it called to me to be giving the lessons. Right? I'm not one big on turning the other cheek, and if it's wrong is done, right, and whether that wrong is done to me in my choices, I can choose to walk away, right? I can choose to point out, and that's normally what I'll do is I'll walk away, but not before I point out the unkindness. Remember, I don't believe in unkindness. So it's a matter of being creative, right? In how we present the problem, how we can present a solution or realization in something or someone that right, what they did was not right. It wasn't kind and it wasn't going to be helpful in their movement, and it could be quite detrimental in somebody else's movement. Okay, so bring it back, Cindy. We're on this word vision, right? But to explain a little bit, right? This vision that if we can get the word out there, that at least everybody could at least have the option in their own free choice, in their own initiative to make some kind of movement for themselves, that they could possibly do some good for themselves, right? So let's go back to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He used vision, and it was one of those number one things in his movement forward. So when I said he was a good example to come up to me, to surface, to use an example today in this idea of vision, because he was a man who had a hard time being the person that he wanted to be. And he had to be determined in himself because he didn't have a lot of believers that thought that he could accomplish the things that he wanted to accomplish. And the things that he wanted to accomplish were just things that came across his path, you know, possibly, right? You remember if you're born in the 60s or 70s, you used to remember on the back of the Archie comics or whatever the comics books that you used to watch, there would be a skinny man on the beach. And then beside him, there would be this great big muscular guy with a pretty lady hanging off his arm. And the little skinny guy's going, oh my goodness, I want to be like that. And right. And this is what I'm envisioning for this idea of what Arnold Schwarzenegger had, that he saw what the potential he had in himself, and he envisioned that for himself. But he also, right, when I said yesterday when we were touching goal setting, that I use this idea of vision in my goal setting when I'm looking to achieve something like vacation that's coming up in the next 3 weeks, and I'm envisioning what this vacation is going to be like. And as I'm envisioning, I'm moving towards these ideas and these creative thoughts that I'm having to even make this a more spectacular vacation for myself, or ways how I can work the content, because this vacation is for myself, but I'm going to be filming it. And because of my own movement forward, and because I work in social media, right, because I bring those adventures and those explorers to my platform, that I'm envisioning different ideas, different ways to bring that message across. And this is what Arnold Schwarzenegger did. He envisioned himself, and then right away, he applied that. Remember, yesterday I was talking about my trip's coming up. It's only 3 weeks away, right? We got the funds ready to go. I'm ready to book things. But as I'm ready to book things, I'm seeing, because of these fires that are going on in Canada, that some of these choices that I've made in campgrounds, provincial forces that I'm in, these provincial parks, that they're being closed down because of the concerns, because of the weather that we've been having. So it kind of worked out perfect not to have these cancellations that I would have to do, because kind of procrastinate. It wasn't a matter of procrastination. The dates were set when I was going to accomplish doing these things. Like I said yesterday, me and my sister were working on that Jeep Wrangler for my trip. It is my dream truck, and I've been manifesting it, right? And right, I don't even know how this truck feels like to drive. I just think it's a cool looking truck, and I'm thinking any truck that's $70,000 has got to be, without the extras, has got to be an amazing vehicle, right? And so I've been working towards, right, this car, because it's tied in with my outdoor, right? I explore the inside and the outside, but that outside requires me to be on the road, and I can't keep spending $1,000 every time that I want to go out and do some road tripping, right? It's not $1,000 a day, it's $1,000 for the whole week. And that is for the dream vehicle too. So keep that in mind. So maybe might be half of that and I'd be able to get something, right? Or maybe $100 and I'd be able to go off for the day for an adventure, right? But I don't need to get onto the road to have those adventures, because I am dynamic in my interests. And because it is mindset, it is Mother Nature, and it is history. There are other aspects of the things that I love to do that I think would suit very well to my brand. Me and my sister, this Monday coming up, we are going to go thrifting. Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. And we're going to post it to my YouTube. And this is something we like to do. And this will add on to my content. And it is part of my vision, right? Because in thrifting, because, right, my sister and I, we like to think we're a little bit of experts when it comes to the antiques and to the vintage products that we find on the shelves, right? But that's the thing. We can get into the topics of the story, the histories, maybe part of the family, the emotions, the feelings, the visions of these purchases that somehow got donated to a thrift store. And whether it was through somebody passing and it was an estate, or somebody lost interest in that item, right? On to the next thing. And they said, oh, right, I do the same thing. I have to. I live in a small apartment and I work in a thrift store. I'm bringing goodies home all the time. And you guys, if you hung out with me any length of time, you know, Sunday nights on my show Chatters Live, we we go through my staff charges and we get to, right, experience together some of those really amazing things that we got. One of those things that I got this week. Oh, it's not here. Oh, I put it up there to get. I got a beautiful geode with crystals in it. Today, after my live show, we're going to put some Saturday Night Fever. It's my favorite album of all time, besides, right? Barry Gibb, Guilty with Barbara Streisand. I don't know. It's pretty amazing. And it's an album I bought over and over many, many times. But I really love the music of this Saturday Night Fever. It brings back lots of memories when I was a teenager. I was probably 16 or 17 years old when this movie, Saturday Night Fever, came out, right? It was actually, it's funny that I wanted to be a makeup artist. I really wanted to be a makeup artist when I was in high school. It's funny how things change, right? But theater makeup and right, this came in just like as I was leaving high school and I was all pumped. I was going to go to New York and become a none of that happened. Why did none of that happen? It was a vision of mine. It was because I didn't put the action, right, behind the thought, the action behind the vision. We were talking yesterday, vision. We get these ideas, and because I tie my visions up with goal setting, right? I thought it was perfect that we got Arnold Schwarzenegger because he also did the same thing with his visions, right? He envisioned himself as Mr. Universe. And but the thing is, he just didn't envision that. He went to work, right? He went to work, and as highly sensitives and as empaths, right? We have this tendency to, right, have visions all the time. We are super, super, super creative. And not only that, we have so many great ideas and so many visions for ourselves and the people in our communities and in our surroundings, right? But we don't voice them. And not only don't we voice them, right? We don't think we have the capabilities. We don't think we have the tools. We don't think we have the capabilities that honestly, we don't even feel like we have the right to even try sometimes. And right, we'll look for that comfy spot and we'll look for that little bit of space of time where it slips from our minds, right? And we purposely let it slip from our minds because we don't want to be reminded of what we didn't jump on, right? That great idea of being a makeup artist. I didn't jump on that. And whether it was a good thing that I didn't jump on that, right? Or it was a good thing because of what I'm doing right now, right? Forget the makeup artist. It was a moment, but I could have had that moment. I could have had that experience. And that's the idea about having as many experiences as we possibly can, because how can we find the things that we truly love unless we try, unless we apply ourselves to the vision, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger applied himself to the vision of being Mr. Universe. He applied himself. Remember what we said yesterday? You don't get the gold medal at the Olympics by just saying, I want the gold medal in the Olympics. You have to do the training. You have to put in the reps. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort. You have to get into action and you have to do something right away with that vision because, right, that vision is big, right? Being Mr. Universe is huge. It's big. And if you're highly sensitive and if you're highly, you could talk yourself out of that the very next second because you go, oh my goodness, I can't do that. Who am I to think that I could do that? Right? And then what do? You go to the freezer and you get yourself a big bowl of ice cream and you sit on the couch with the remote control, right? And you forget about that vision. But even in the meantime of sitting on the couch with the remote control and that bowl of ice cream, you could have another half a dozen visions in that time. So it's really important that as we have these visions that we have to find somehow to get that ball rolling. And you guys, the next stage of this cold has just happened. So I have to get up right now and get a Kleenex. Give me 1 second. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's definitely a cold. I wonder if my sister got it. I wonder where I got it. I tried to wear my face mask this week at work only because we're going into the fall season, right? And there's a new variant of the COVID out there, and I guess maybe I should take a test. Yes, I'll take a test after my live show today because I do not want to be responsible of spreading this around. But I can see for sure it's a cold now, right? I woke up this morning with a sore throat and just now doing my live show because it's the first time I've actually been talking to anybody today, right? Because I'm here trying to enjoy my day off and get things done in my day off, and again also not feeling well, right? I am conserving conserving a little bit of energy, but at the same time trying to get some things done. Okay, let's go into some of these comments here and see what's going on. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to be a Rubicon. Melvin, he knows me on from my other show, Chatters Live. He knows I've been talking about the Jeep, my dream truck that I've been manifesting for since 2021 because that's the one I've been manifesting, the 2021. So, it might happen 10 years from now, 15 years from now, right? Wouldn't it be funny, right? There's the 2035 truck is out, and because I've been manifesting the 2021, that's the one that I get. But I thought it would be a good opportunity in my vision for my vacation, for my vision of what I'm going to be bringing to the table in the content. And wouldn't it be inspiring to some of those people who've been following me for the past few years and hear me, right, blabbering off about these things that I'm going to manifest in my life, that some of them actually do become real. And these vacations, right, I have no idea how I managed to get them done, right? Because lots of years I'm not even working, right? I don't even have a vehicle, right? Right? And I have no idea, but for some reason, because it is my vision and because I put that action to my vision, I realize these amazing holidays. So I'm working towards a Jeep for the vacation. I'm working towards a few other things that I'm trying to add on to this vacation of mine, right? And the only thing that is tight and grounded and secure and for sure is that time off that I have, that I booked off, that I'm going to take off, right? No matter what the situation is, because sometimes we have to take care of ourselves. And that stick with the bag, which contains my trip that I do every single year, that's important. That matters. That's happening. That's my vision. And even though that vision may look different in the end, my intent is that that vision is realized, right? Back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He envisioned being Mr. Universe, and he did that. He envisioned moving to America, right? He made that happen. Every step that he made, huge embarkment that he took in his life, it started with an envision, right? But not only did it start with the vision, immediately, immediately after the vision was the action, right? He envisioned being governor, right? He envisioned being governor. He envisioned being a movie star. He couldn't even speak English, right? He was German, and even in the when that movie came out, it was in the 70s, right? I do believe it was the late 70s that Conan came out. I remember that movie. It was such a cool movie. And I didn't specifically go for the movie itself. I went to that movie because the guys at the school, it was huge. Conan was such a guy movie, right? And in a world where lots of movies, it was a way, right? Chick flicks, stuff like this. Like the men, they enjoyed the movies, but it was a way to, right? To get the women interested into spending the women. So most of the time, it was the women who got the choices as to what movie they were going to watch, right? If you think even Saturday Night Fever was a chick flick, right? It was a chick flick, but it was a cool flick for guys too, right? Right? How many marriages came from this, right? When this movie came out, all the dates, right? That was a huge, huge blockbuster. I still think that this, besides Thriller, I think that this is the number two album in the world. Now I could be wrong in that. I'm going to do a little bit of research on because I just said it like it's a fact, and I don't like to do that. I don't like to do that. So I'll course correct tomorrow if I'm wrong. But if I'm thinking correctly, this was number two when it came to albums, and Michael Jackson's album Thriller was number one. Okay, so go back to Vision and goal setting because this is what I do. And this was what I thought was pretty cool when I went in today and Googled the word vision because I knew I was going to come to the table with a different perspective of the word vision. And I came up with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I watched the video. It was a video that I watched because I am a visual learner, right? I do read articles, right? I do love biographies. But I am passionate about being a visual learner, being empathic. I look to see it, right? I study people and it's part of my hypervigilance. It's part of my hypervigilance in this day and age that I live in right now. It serves me very, very well. It was born of trauma, but it's a great gift. It has kept me saved. It has kept me out of the hands of people that might have, right, abused or misused me, right? My gullibility, my naivety, it's a hard word for me to pronounce because I could sense, right? And in my hypervigilant in being empathic, right? It has served me well to be able to sense if someone means me well or doesn't mean me well. And then it was like my steering wheel, right? Again, guilt and shame, right? It steered me well too. But at the same time, I have to give credit to my hypervigilance because it did keep me safe. It did keep me out of those situations where I could have made a different decision, right? I have to give it credit in that. Okay, let's go back into comments. I don't mean to ignore you guys. I'm just trying to stay on the topic here, and I'm not doing a very good job today. It's the cold, and I'm going to blame it. I really am going to blame it on the cold, right? I knew this morning that I wasn't feeling good. I knew the way that I was dragging my butt a little bit yesterday. So I don't think my sister gave me this cold. I don't believe she did. I think I was already moving in towards that. So I really do hope that I didn't give it to her because we did spend some time in close proximity yesterday. Okay. Another person of focus was Marilyn Monroe. Really, Andrew? Early on, she was asked if she would continue pursuing stardom if half the people in Hollywood said she wouldn't make it. If 100% of the people, Marilyn replied, if 100% of the people said she wouldn't make it, to 100% of the people would be wrong, right? Because she believed, she envisioned. And yeah, that's great that you add that word believe, because no vision can be manifested without a belief, right? Because there is so much work, so much effort, so much determination in it that you have to have the belief, right? The belief is what makes it so that you don't give up. And that's the truth. Andrew also says sometimes people are afraid of success, and when they back down from continuing in working towards their goal. That's 100%. And Andrew, a little bit of me is stuck in that thought too. So that's probably a good insight that you have there too, right? Is that we're afraid of success. It's not that we, right, because we trust ourselves, we have faith in our own capabilities. But what is it that makes us afraid of success? And I've been taught that it's only one thing, Andrew, and maybe you can agree to this. Maybe you might, maybe you have a different idea. But people are afraid of success because of what other people might think, right? You look at the people who are successful out there, right? You look at the leaders. People are always trying to bring people down to their levels. Nobody wants to see somebody bypass them or get a raise, get a promotion, right? To succeed in their life, have a prettier wife, right? A bigger family. That we will sometimes and quite often, in our own resentment and jealousy, pull others down to our level. So this is something to consider when you are. And that amazing point. I never read your next comment after that. It might contradict everything that I'm saying here right now. But that's a really great point that you bring up there, Andrew, right? And that's the idea, is that when we put that action towards our vision, right? We're putting our concentration, we're putting our focus, and we're putting our curiosity towards that. And we have to be a little bit tunnel vision in that, because for that exact reason of the resentment and the jealousy. And we talk about, crawling out of that bucket, right? Right. But at the same time, it might not even be a bucket that you're in. You just might be striving and working towards that next improvement in your life, or that next goal, or that next achievement in what you're working towards, or in that vision that you have. And we have to be a little bit tunnel vision, because if we're not, again, being having those tools, we got the belief, right, which is super important. I love that you brought that in, because again, sometimes people are afraid of success, right? My vision is big, and I'm thinking, I'm going, oh my goodness, Cindy, you're sitting in low income housing with a job in a little thrift store, right? But you have these big dreams. And again, in my vision, I realized that I have to put that work in. It's part of why I show up here every day. It's that accountability to myself. It's putting in those reps, putting in that work. It's showing up every day, right? But I'm still afraid, right? Because I am stepping into realms that are part of my vision, but not part of my reality. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Right? I have a vision of a grand vacation in 3 weeks, right? I'm going to have a Jeep Rubicon. I'm going to have a $70,000 vehicle that I'm going to be driving around, right? While I'm on that trip. I'm envisioning all the magnificent sites and parks that I'm going to visit, right? I'm envisioning how I'm going to put content together as right, again, it's content for the people who've been so kindly hanging out with me as I'm moving through this story that I'm playing out in real life. In real life, this, right? And this is something, because this is social media, right? This is a YouTube. This is going to be a podcast. And again, if you come in later on, you guys, right? Or if you missed my live, you'll be able to come in and pick up any of these lives that I do. What's My Good Cheer? They're in a playlist. They're set as a podcast, you guys, right? And right, I hope they do you some good, because every lesson that I take in, I suspect, is getting me closer to my vision, right? And some of those are goals, but those goals are tied up with a grander vision. And that grander vision truly wasn't for myself, it was for those who come after me, who've had those experiences that I not only had, but I know through the people that hang out with me in this show and in my show, Chatters Live, that they've had these experiences themselves, right? And that's what they are. They're my experiences. They're part of my life. They're my vulnerability, right? And if I just put that action, right, in as I'm moving forward, that it is my hopes that we can create not just best human being that I possibly can be, right? But also that we could all be the best human beings to ourselves and to each other, that maybe we can eliminate some of these. Oh, you guys can hear it in my voice. I can hear it. We can eliminate some of this harshness to the world, harshness to our lives, some of that uncertainty, some of that pain, some of that true confusion. It really, really is. When I say uncertainty, it is the confusion as to what it's all about, right? But we are in that stage, I do believe, of evolution. And as much as we are not Neanderthals anymore, I do believe we are no longer Homo sapiens either. That in evolution, right, in that idea that it's a constant change, that we are going to be moving in to a more conscious man. And in my vision, that's what my hopes is, right? That we are all going to be more conscious. It is my understandings that we are all going to be there, right? But whether that's a vision manifested, that all depends on the action that I take, and then possibly the actions of those that come after me, right? That might envision something for themselves and then have that idea that, oh my goodness, right? That all this work that I'm doing on myself, that I could be sharing it in that process and be of service to possibly somebody else that didn't have that answer, because I didn't have any of these answers, right? I had a vision. That's what I had. I didn't have any of the answers. I didn't have any of the skills, right? I had to put in the reps. I had to, because otherwise my vision would not be manifest and will not be manifested. Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, if he had not put the action in to his vision, he would not have been Mr. Universe, right? He would not have been that huge movie star that he was. And he was a huge movie star, wasn't he? And he was in big, big movies that will be around forever and ever, right? As big a movies as this, Conan's and the Terminators, right? Oh, he did another one. What was the other one? Ah, Twins. I love that movie, Twins. That was a good movie, right? And he was very dynamic, very diverse in his life, and very, very talented in many, many aspects. And I suspect because we are creatives, as highly sensitives and as empaths, that's one of our greatest gifts is our creativity, right? In that creativity, what can we envision for ourselves? I envisioned this. It didn't look exactly like this. In fact, it didn't look anything like this. But it started with a vision, right? And it started as soon as that vision was created in my mind, I had to put the action into it because if I didn't put the action into it, it would have only been a dream. It would have only been a thought, right? And again, if I had voiced those visions, voiced those dreams, voiced those thoughts, they could have very well have been somebody else's dream, somebody else's thoughts. Why? Because they were the ones willing to put in the action when I wasn't. Because I was procrastinating, because I wanted the couch and I wanted the remote control. And because, like what Andrew said, about the pain, right? That about the fear. And that's the big part of it is the fear. But sometimes, oh my goodness, if I knew where I was going to be sitting right this minute, say 5 years ago, I would have stopped 5 years ago. I could pretty much guarantee if I'd known where I was going to be right now, 5 years ago, I would have stopped because it was too big. The vision was too big then. But I started the baby steps, right? I started making that movement. I had the vision. And even though my vision was turning out different, I was riding those waves. I was adapting and conquering. I was overcoming my limiting beliefs. I was taking in the lessons. I was building up that tool belt of mine. And if you had asked me last week, knowing where I'm sitting right now, what my vision is, it would have been this. It would have been this a week ago. But 5 years ago, I would have quit. I did baby steps. I took in the lessons. I hacked away at my vision. I'm not even close. I'm not even close. And if you ask me 5 years from now, where I'm going to be sitting 5 years from now, if I knew where I was going to be sitting 5 years into the future, I would have quit today, right? And that's the way you should feel. Sometimes we don't see our successes, right? Sometimes we don't see that growth. Sometimes we don't see that movement forward. Sometimes we don't see those clean bookshelves, right? Andrew has been eliminated. He's a book collector. He loves reading. He loves books, and his house is full. But he also likes to be a minimalist, and he's been parting with his books, right? He's making that movement. His vision is to be a minimalist. His vision is to lessen the clutter in his life. If you asked Andrew 5 years ago if he was going to part with his books, I bet you he would have said no. Or he would have said, oh, yes, I'm going to thin things out, right? But he would have just added to his collection because he would have procrastinated in that. But because he did the baby steps, right? Which he did is he just slowly reads his books and then, right, passes them on, gives them to people, takes them to the little library, donates them to the book sales. He is achieving his vision, right? And sometimes we want that vision achieved yesterday, right? It's just not fast enough. But we have to remember, Andrew still has those books to read, books that he hasn't even picked up yet. And he'll never get to read those books if he just cleans the house out and donates the books. What if it's the most amazing book he ever read his entire life? What if that book turned his life upside down and put it on the right track in the moment? Maybe that book was a feng shui book, right? And he didn't give that book that time to catch his curiosity to say, oh, what a nice rainy day today. I'm going to put my feet up and I think I'm going to read this book on feng shui in the baby steps, in that small movement, right? And then he's at that moment, right? Because he's been cluttering out his shelves, right? That he's made a little bit of space, that now he's actually able to make and to receive that message, right? That was in that book that would maybe turn his life around, maybe set it on a different path, on a different vision, that possibly, right? Just the fact that he didn't rush through it, number one, right? But at the same time, he's still making that movement. He's still decluttering his life, right? And I'm just going to go back into some of these comments here. But I really like that, what you said there, Andrew, about saying another person of focus was Marilyn Monroe, because she truly was. She had that vision. She knew she was going to be a star. She knew it was going to happen, right? She knew it was going to happen. I know this is going to happen, right? But it may not happen yesterday. And it hasn't, right? It may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen next week, next year, next lifetime. But I'm still going to bite away at it. It's still my vision. And I'm still moving towards it. I'm still taking that action towards it. And that's the thing. A vision is only a dream. It's only a dream until you put the action towards it. And it doesn't have to be flip your life upside down, start from zero, right? It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it is, right? Good for you if you can do that. Good for you. But highly sensitives and empaths, we like to do things slowly. But the idea is to do it slowly, not to stop, not to give up, not to say that's too hard, not to say I can't do it, not to say I'm not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, hardworking enough, because you are a hard worker, right? You spend a lot of time on your couch. I'm using it as an example, but it could be anything in procrastination that makes it so that you don't get the right. I'm guilty, right? You sit me on a hillside at sunset. I'll sit there for 3 hours and wait for the sun to set. And then I'll sit for another hour and contemplate what a beautiful sunset that was. And sometimes we need that. But sometimes it's just in that needing a little bit of a boot in the butt, right? The sun is going down. But we can appreciate the sun going down as we're going for a walk, right? We're going for a drive, having a conversation, right? Sorry, the cold. I don't know. That just really kicked in. That really kicked in when I went live today. But it is what it is. It's adapt and conquer, right? We show up the best that we can show up in the moment, right? Right? Whether we're really a little dizzy in the brain at times, right? I feel it. I could tell yesterday that something was off. I didn't know what it was, but I could feel a little something was off. But I took the action anyway, and I did the baby steps, and I got things done yesterday. And I worked towards those visions of mine yesterday, did the best that I could. I am proud of that effort. I came in today with a different perspective on this word vision, right? But it's true though. And yesterday we really emphasized the action towards the vision. And today I notice that I'm really emphasizing the action that's attached to the vision, right? But that's that idea that in the patterning sometimes that we don't catch everything, right? We have ideas, we're creative, we have visions. I have lots of ideas, lots of things that I go, but there are only few things that I'm working on in the moment because I can't spread myself too thin, because if I spread myself a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, right? Now let's go back to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He focused, right? So that that distraction was not coming at him, so that he could be the gold medalist, so that he could be the Mr. Universe, so that he could be an amazing actor, so that he could be governor. That some parts of his life, yeah, might be sacrificed in that. But was it towards a good cause, right? Was that vision big enough to hold your fancy, to hold your curiosity, to stop you from procrastinating, or to get you off the couch and into action mode, right? And it was very early in my lessons that I attached actions to thoughts, and I really didn't get it. I really didn't understand it. It was a couple of years before I really realized what that idea was. And it's because we don't like the pain. It's like what Andrew said, right? We're afraid. We're afraid of what people are going to think. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of investing, right? For the most part, lots of times, what we don't have, what we can't spare, or what we don't think we can spare, right? Sometimes it's just in the idea that who are we, right? We look at these big stars and we look at our situations and we say, oh my goodness, right? He had all the tools. He was privileged. He had money, right? No, but he had dreams, right? And a lot of times, those dreams, and you can have as much money and as much tools on your belt, right? You could have that know-how, but if you don't have that courage, if you can't if you can't motivate yourself to get to work on some of those dreams and some of those visions that you have for yourself, right? Nothing can or will be realized, and that's the truth. And right, you're hanging out with me, right? We talk a lot about moving forward, right? We don't stop. We don't stop. It's not part of my life. Stopping is not part of my life. Procrastination, well, that's another story. But the moment I recognize that I'm procrastinating, I try to get motivated. right? And sometimes in my own fear, like Andrew says, right? The fear of maybe of what somebody's going to think in my lack or, um, well, maybe it's a lack of knowledge, right? Lack of ambition, lack of motivation, that I wouldn't be suited to be a good example, right? For others. But that's the thing, in the baby steps, in just showing up, in sharing that story that I'm playing out, which is my life every single day. That's the action. That's the promise to myself. That's the accountability to myself, right? That's the best I could do. That will be the best that I can do. But as I move forward, and because I don't give up on myself, and because I do those baby steps, and because I show up every single day, I can see the evidence for myself of the possibilities, right? I'm putting in those reps. I am putting in those reps because I'm looking out at the world, and there are people who are not even trying, who are not even making any movement, right? And of course, you don't want to make the same movement as I do. And I don't want to make the same movement as you do because we all bring something different to the table. We all have different visions, different dreams, different goals, different hopes for ourselves, hopes for our families, hopes for our communities, and hopes for the world, right? That's the vision. Now, what are we going to do about it? Right? Right? So, yesterday when we said pick something for yourself, right? Doesn't have to be a big goal, right? Something you want for yourself, something you want to achieve, right? Something that will make your life better, make your family's life better, make your community's life better, as long as you're included in that equation. That's the thing. Being impasse, I'm trying to pull ourselves away for giving it all to others and not to ourselves, right? And that is one thing I'm going to have to say that I am grateful for, that I found the entrepreneurs, right? Because um, they do take that into consideration. Because in the beginning, the vision is to alleviate that pain in ourselves, right? That's how we come into it. That's how I came into it. I wanted to be a YouTube superstar, right? I wanted to go viral. I wanted to be the next Logan Paul of urban exploration. I did, right? But that wasn't a vision for myself. That wasn't a vision for the world, right? That wasn't um the end game. It wasn't. I didn't realize it at the time. That's the thing. We never realize it when we first step into it, right? We never realize what what the possibilities truly are until we get started. And it is in my hopes that if we can each chase some of those visions for ourselves, right? 100% is just for you, even if it's just for you, right? That's okay because I believe that we fill ourselves up before we, right, fill for others. The only thing is, it helps, right? Even as a little drummer girl, I always refer to myself as a little drummer girl because I don't have a lot of funds that I could go off. And every time a homeless person says, "Can you have any spare change?" that I could just, right, right. And so I am um, aware of my limitations, right? But I'm also aware of my dreams of being a philanthropist. And because that's a big dream, and because, well, little drummer girl, little drummer girl is going to do great, is going to be great at singing and playing the drums and making somebody feel good. But being a true philanthropist, right? To maybe possibly do some of those kindnesses for others, right, that were done for me in just appreciation in all truth, right? Even what I give at my job, and it might not be appreciated. I expect a lot of it's not even noticed by anybody except for myself, maybe a few of the customers, maybe a couple of the people I work with, right? But on the whole, right? I'm not in it for the recognition. I'm not in it for that good job, Cindy. You're amazing. You're the best at what you do. I'm not in it for that. I'm doing the best that I possibly can out of the appreciation for the gift of the job, for them even considering to take me on, right? And if they misjudge that, well, that's on them. And Andrew saying that we're afraid, in my own sense of being afraid of what others might think, it doesn't matter. And this is something that I've recently learned, and I've been in this for a while now. I've recently learned this is that I have to appreciate myself. I have to own my own piece of land that I stand on. And even though somebody might think ill of me, maybe somebody wants me to pull me down to their level of understanding or their level of, well, their way of life, right? Or possibly to put me in a frame of mind to make me think that I'm only good to serve others, that I can't create something for myself. Because if Arnold Schwarzenegger created all of that, and he created a lot in his life, right? He created a lot for his life. Why can't I? Right? Okay, I'm not pushing 300-pound weights. That ain't happening. That ain't happening, right? I'm not a weightlifting type of girl. You'll never see me in the gym. It's just not my thing. But that's not my vision. That's not my dream. And that's not what I'm moving forward towards, right? Right? That was Arnold Schwarzenegger's dreams. And he achieved it by putting in the reps. And I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve, right? My vision. I'm dreaming big. And my vision is just not for myself, but my vision is for the world, right? Knowing from the life that I'm coming from, right? That there are lots of people that are going through the same thing I went through, right? Same thing, exact same thing, but having different problems. They're having different problems, but only because of the environment that they were living in, right? They're experiencing, because I'm coming from something different. And we're all different and we need different. And that's the problem that I have with labels, right? Like, I find sometimes that I talk because I have traits, right? I have ADHD traits, right? I have borderline traits. And believe it or not, I do believe I have very controlling traits, right? And I think this is part of why I'm on the path that I'm on, is to help maneuver around those obstacles in my life that can compound me and put me in a state that possibly I might not be able to even receive the lessons that will keep me having these visions, right? Of help me keep setting these amazing goals that have helped me create this amazing, it is amazing, little life that I'm creating for myself. And because, right, I'm dreaming big, I'm doing the baby steps, right? And I'm going to look back every once in a while, because I have to look back every once in a while. Because if I look at just what I'm accomplishing today, right? I got a cold. I didn't get any housework really done, some dishes. That was it. It's my day off. I got one more day off. back to work, right? And I still have things to do and things that I'm uh, through my accountability, have to ensure that I ensure that I do, because I am no good to anybody. How can I come here and spew that music, or, well, it is music, spew those lessons, right? And, and share my beliefs without being that evidence that it's possible, right? Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger was that evidence to every little 80-pound weakling, right? Who was taking it from the muscle guy at the beach, that he was inspiring people to move towards what they envisioned for themselves, right? What they envisioned for others, maybe, right? Or envisioned for the world itself. And we shouldn't stop dreaming. We shouldn't stop dreaming, right? And we could call it dreaming as long as we can attach the action to the dream, right? Right? We don't want to procrastinate on the things that will serve us well. Procrastinate on the things that don't serve us, right? Right? Procrastinate it, right? We could do without World War III, right? We could just eliminate it altogether. Forget about pushing it forward a few decades. Just let's stop it, right? We can envision that, and we can work towards that, even in the midst of it, even right now in the midst of it. We can start that action. We can start those conversations, right? We can take those actions, and even though it's scary, right? Even though it's scary, and even though we might fail, right? At least we can be proud of that effort. And at least we can say we never gave up on the vision, right? We just tried to come at it at a little bit of a different way. Okay, you guys, I've been yapping for almost an hour and a half here. Let's call it a live today. We'll look at uh, vision tomorrow with a different perspective. I think I threw in a few perspectives today. I had an idea of what I wanted to get across today, right? But yeah, I think this cold is getting me down, but I'm here anyway. I showed up anyway, and I will show up tomorrow, right? Also, right? No matter what, even if we're going to do this live show from bed, we'll do that. We adapt, we conquer, right? We find another way. We set our goals, we reverse engineer them, right? We work backwards, we make them happen. And if we have those obstacles, we work with those obstacles, right? Because we can work with the difficult things, right? Nobody and nothing can take away a vision except for ourselves, because it is in our choices. It's always in our choices. 100%. I didn't get here. Right? I got here actually by a combination of good choices and bad choices. So there's something to munch on too. It's just a matter of making choices and starting to run with those choices. And you'll get, right, right? That ebb and flow, that movement, right? It always ends up where it's supposed to be. It's just a matter of getting started. It's just a matter of getting started. Okay, you guys, I'm babbling off. We're going to call it a day. I'm going to go get something to eat because I haven't eaten. Have I eaten anything to say? I can't even remember if I've eaten anything today, right? But I am comfy. I am at home. I'm grateful it's a day off, right? That I'm not having to work today at my first day of this cold, that I've got the time off to relax and take care of myself, right? Because knowing me, I would have plowed right through it, come home exhausted, crashed, right? And we do that to ourselves sometimes, right? We got to make sure that we're taking ourselves into consideration in all of this movement that we're making. And that for me is also a lesson I learned just recently too, like even in the past year. And I guess the idea was to try and get as much momentum going as I possibly can. But oh my goodness, right? Plow, plow, plow. And I think sometimes when we plow through things, we don't absorb things properly. And so, like I said, I am a big believer in baby steps. So, when we go back to that question yesterday of picking a little bit of a goal for yourself, right? You know, like Sharon did yesterday on YouTube, she was saying that she would like to get a little bit of a better handle on her health. And as we mature, we find that we're going to end up being a little bit more focused on our health and on our physical well-being, aren't we? Because things, they start to break down as we get older. I am grateful for my good health, right? But I'd like to think that through my actions that I'm keeping that, because I have visions, and that vision requires me to be the best um, in the moment that I possibly can. And through my contribution, I try to do that. I try to do that in my everyday, day to day. I try to do that when I show up here doing my lives, right? And I try to do this when I'm at work and representing for somebody else, because that's somebody else's vision and I'm supporting them in their vision. Whether they recognize that or not, that's okay, because I recognize that, right? I recognize that. And that's just the evidence of the lessons being received. Okay, you guys, that's my big chair. We'll see each other tomorrow. Let's just take a look at some of these comments in here before I take off. Oh, Kathy made it in too. Hi, Kathy, dear. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you guys for popping in tonight. Yeah, I have no idea. The sniffles just started. As soon as I started my live show today, the sniffles started. But yesterday I was feeling a little bit dragged out. Today I was feeling a little bit dragged out. And I just got my confirmation that, yeah, it's a cold. My throat, yeah, it is. It's a cold, but it is what it is. And it's in lessons. And I'm glad I'm getting this cold now and not when I go on holidays, because we know I got sick on my holidays last year. It was still great holidays, but I did the holidays sick. So let's get this cold out of the way now. So as the holidays come in, we're feeling absolutely terrific. I'm going to go take care of myself now, make myself something warm to drink and something good to eat. How's that? Turn on some lights. It's getting dark in here. Okay, you guys. You wouldn't know with all these light bulb things going on. Okay, you guys. Have a great day. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh my goodness. Okay. And okay.